we want to thank this year's show partners. We are very fortunate to have two different brands that are partnering with our episodes this year in the season of Life Off the Links. First and foremost, we want to thank 3570 Golf Co. His mission is to provide you the best golf gear and inspire Midwest golf adventures. Because in a game that can only be played and never won, the journey is the reward. They're an amazing brand with incredible products. I'm wearing one of their polos right now. This is the Call, K-A-W polo. I'm real particular about my shirts, and this thing feels like I'm hardly wearing anything. It's so light, so breathable, amazing quality. We've got some of their head covers up here. Head covers. They've got amazing hats, as you can see. All sorts of things. You got to check them out. If you go to their website, 35x70golfco.com. That's 35x70golfco.com. You can check out their stuff. And if you go to get some gear, make sure to use our unique coupon code for the show, LOTLPOD. That's LOTLPOD for a 10% discount on your order. That's 3570 Golf Co. We also want to thank Braun and Fox, who is with us from the very beginning. We love their products. They have incredible hats. As you can see in front of me, what I love is their Hold a Tee hat, where they have a nifty little place for a tee to go in there so you're not digging through your pockets. Braun and Fox had the vision to combine the classic golf look with a new innovative style while remaining affordable for all players. Braun represents the strength, and the Fox represents the intelligence that is needed to navigate one of the hardest games ever created. Make sure to check out braunandfox.com/lifeoffthelinks to get your specific discount for our show. You can use our coupon code as well, LOTL10, for a discount on braunandfox.com. Thank you so much to 3570 Golf Co. and Braun and Fox. Go check them out. Let's get back to the episode. Hey, what's up, everybody? Life Off the Links back again. I'm your host, Kevin Motznick, and we are so excited about our guest we have on today. One of those that was a little bit of a big dream of ours to have on the show, and that's becoming a reality today. One of the greats of the game, we have Mr. Zach Johnson with us today. Zach, thanks for being on the show. How's it going?
It is my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm doing great, man. Down here in South Georgia and loving the weather.
Yes. Well, it is an absolute privilege to have you with us today, and really grateful that you would take the time to be on the show. I'm excited to really dig into your story, your life. That's what our heart is for the show, is getting to hear the stories that have shaped you to be who you are today, and kind of bring the human side of the game to our listeners. So I'm excited to dig in. Before we jump into all that, though, I want to give some fast facts about your life, just to help if people are listening that are not as familiar with your story, kind of give them some background before we jump in. So fast facts about Zach Johnson. You were born in Iowa City, Iowa, but really grew up and were raised in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Played your collegiate golf at Drake University. Go Bulldogs. Turned pro in 1998, but joined the PGA Tour in 2004. And since then, 12 career PGA Tour wins and 2 majors as part of that, 2015 Open champion, 2007 Masters champion. And you've played in 4 President's Cup, played in 5 Ryder Cups. There's been some vice captains in that between both of those. And then most recently, the 2023 Ryder Cup captain for Team USA in Rome, which is amazing. And then most importantly of all that, I would say, is you're married to your beautiful wife, Kim, and have 3 lovely children. So as I spit all those things out, what are some just reflections on all of that?
Well, I mean, a lot of what you said feels like it was, in a lot of ways, yesterday. But then in a lot of respects, it feels like it was, eons ago. I don't. I try not to revel in the past too much. I mean, certainly, you're going to learn from everything, good and bad, right? But I'm very fortunate. I mean, you said it. I was raised in a great community, great family, great parents, etc. I went to a great school. Everything for the most part was academics and athletics. I mean, that was my childhood. Pretty rough. And it, in some regards, still is, because I'm trying to do 6th grade math and it's impossible. So, and then I went to Drake. Awesome, great molding experience there, and then met my wife down in Florida not too long after college, and here we are. I mean, we're rooted in South Georgia. We've got 3 great kids. Certainly the most humbling thing I've ever had to do is become a husband/parent. But it's also been the most rewarding too. So it's all about perspective in those regards. But I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm still competing, which is great. Given the opportunity, given the body. But yet, obviously I have priorities that, are quite a ways above hitting that little wall. So, very fortunate. Don't take anything for granted. And, I'm a product of, I guess a lot of P's, right? Prayer, people, and I would say just the perspective on life that I need constant reminders in. So
yeah, wow, love that. So let's dig in a little bit of that. So your life growing up, what was that life like for you? You're in a little town in Iowa. Growing up, you had 2 siblings. Is that correct? You're one of 3 kids.
That's right.
So what was life like with 2 other siblings, and just life as a kid for Zach Johnson?
I mean, I didn't. All you know is what you know. Clearly, I had 2 parents that worked. My dad, I'm 40, almost 49. My dad's 70, just turned 72. He still works on occasion. He's a chiropractor, so very impressive the way he's been able to work for this long. And at this point, it's by choice. So I think that speaks volumes to what he's established. He cuts it down a little bit. He's actually coming into town this week to see my son see my kids, but it's senior day, so we'll get to that at some point. But they can travel a little bit, which is great. Great foundation at home. My mom worked and retired with the church, and like my childhood was seasonal with sports, but it was academics and that. I had anything and everything a boy could, essentially need, but really desire. I mean, want. It wasn't like we were middle class, and I went to the club in the summer and played golf every day. Had a great junior program there, and that's where I molded my game. But I was so involved in sports. I mean, it didn't matter. Soccer, basketball, probably being the primary two. A little bit of tennis, but just loved it. I mean, my siblings were the same. It just depended on the time of year as to what we were doing, and I love going back home. I'm going back in about a week and a half to see some family in the fall, which is the best time of year up there, and I can't wait. It's only 2 days, but hey, we'll take it.
That's right. That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like I've heard from a lot of other guys who have now become pro golfers that having a variety of sports was a big part of being able to do well in golf. Yeah. What are your thoughts about just the playing a bunch of different sports growing up, but then golf kind of ended up being the thing that you really stuck with?
Well, I think it's a very, very difficult subject in the sense that we've seen examples in a lot of endeavors, a lot of sports where they're just single track, one mode, and it works.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't feel like that's the appropriate road. I think you're going to have more hurdles along the way, or more obstacles, or even some unforeseen things that just, I think you can kind of combat with getting your hands in other sports and it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's, playing the guitar. I mean, I personally believe the more you can get out of something and into something else, it helps both or multiple for that matter. I mean, I'm a college football junkie, and so I know what I know, but I mean, college coaches want multi-sport athletes. They just do, and I've seen it with my coach. We've been together since '99, I think, 25 years. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
And he's got some studs. He's had many studs come through his academy, and you see it both. You see some that thrive and that go to the course, study for 2 or 3 hours, go back to the course, and then you see some that don't, because they get burnt out or it's just too much, it's too heavy. So, and I can get into that later, but I mean, golf has its place, and or whatever that sport is should have its place. But I love, as a kid, just touch everything. My kids, for the most part, touched everything, and now they've got their avenues that they're going down. One's a senior, so he's, I don't want to say single track, but he's, at some point, after high school, you're not going to be playing 3 different sports unless you're playing intramurals or something like that.
Yeah, right.
But and not every kid's a college athlete, so I mean, realistically, they're not. But I think it just teaches you so much. Team sports, individual sports, the combination of it, all of it molded into one, I think is just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I know. I think it was Ben Crane last season we had on, and he talked a lot about just like the athleticism that you can get by doing different sports, and you're training your body to do different things, which really translates into the golf swing.
Ben's a great athlete. I've been around Ben for 20-some years, and he's a good friend. And I think you said it right. I mean, you can even get the coordination of it, the dexterity of it, the body symmetry and requirements and demands. I think it's all that, and then mentally, of course, too. So
love it. So as you're starting to you're playing all these sports, you're growing up in Iowa. You said you started over the summers, you'd go to the club a lot and spend your days out there. So that kind of, what age did you really start to find yourself loving the game of golf, and who in your life was kind of an inspiration for you starting to pick up the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I probably have, I was built, I think, with the inclination more to team sports. It's just the way I was, just because I was pretty social and I loved being around friends and, getting on a team. And I still do. But my folks joined a nice club in our little town. I mean, a nice little members social club, had a little landlocked golf course, Elmcrest Country Club, great tennis facility, little pool, So my childhood was pretty rough. I get dropped off there in the morning, play 18 holes with my buddies, go have lunch by the pool, try to get some courage to talk to a girl, probably not, then go back to the golf course, and do it again. Maybe play 9, 18, and then the evening, sometimes I'd have, basketball practice or soccer or something. I mean, it was rough. I mean, that's what I did as a kid, until I could work, and I worked at the other club. As like a bag boy, cart cleaner, range picker, that kind of thing. Eventually, I graduated into the pro shop, which was a whole nother life experience. But that was my childhood. It was great. I mean, I look back on it, and it, very fond memories. Obviously, a lot of friends and relationships established as a result. But the individual at my home club at Elmcrest, who for the most part recently just retired. I mean, he was there. Holy cow! I think we joined when I was like 9 or 10 years old. So 40 years ago, 49 years ago. I credit. There's no question. I credit him for starting me in the game. I mean, he is Elmcrest, especially when you're talking about the golf side of things. He's an individual that we owe a lot. His name's Larry Gladson. The membership adores him, and they should. So now he's just he still hangs around there and plays golf and has fun. But he raised his family there, and now his kids are back raising their kids there. So very fortunate to have a role model like Larry. He's Zach Johnson Foundation Board Emeritus now. Just because he's very invested in what we do in the town, in the community, certainly at the club, and that's the job. I mean, I had some family too. My dad played a little bit, but I mean, it was social. My uncle was and still is a great player, but Larry's the one that he's my first coach.
Yeah, which is so common. Like, I love that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just recorded our first episode for this season was with a guy named Ralph Haas, who's 94 years old, was PG. He still is a member of the PGA of America, 70-plus years member, wow. And was a head pro for 46 years at a country club up in New Jersey, or Western New York.
Wow.
But I say that all just because it's those pros at the clubs that are so often the initial catalyst for guys like you
100%. That
go love the game, and those first unofficial lessons, just hanging around the driving range, they come by and check you out, and that's pretty cool. I love that story.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, as a dad and as a parent, I mean, now I've got teenage boys, and so having, they both have it, thankfully. A role model, a mentor that's a man outside of their father, I think, is also a really cool thing. An individual that can certainly pour in wisdom is something that at some point they're going to be very appreciative, I think. So.
Oh yeah, even if they don't say it, they are.
That's
now
right.
too.
That's right.
And it's so crucial. All right, so on that note, even so, you're starting to really fall in love with this game, and I'm not sure where it overlaps in your story, your time frame. So, At what point did, kind of a two-part question here of when did college golf become something that you were pursuing, and where in your life did your faith really start to become a priority for you?
Great question. It is all kind of intertwined in there. I mean, obviously golf is a big part of my life, and faith is number one. So, golf kind of picked me. I probably should have prefaced this whole thing as far as, at a high level. I mean, or a pursuit at a high level is probably the better way to put it. I would have selected basketball or soccer. I mean, clearly my football days are numbered. If you've seen me, I'm maybe 5'11", and now I'm putting on a few pounds, but not by choice. So I was a runt, and I just, the power of those other sports, I was moderately skilled, I mean, I could handle my own as far as the skill of things, but the speed and the prowess and all that passed me by. So golf was kind of a level playing field to some degree. My mechanics were always okay. And so, when I was in high school, I think by my senior year, I was predominantly the number 2 guy on our team. We had a really good team. We had 4 or 5 kids that played collegiately. Our number 1 man played at the University of Iowa. A good buddy of mine. And then, so, playing in junior tournaments that my folks were able to enter in, started to garner some sort of notice, but nothing of any massive substance, as far as the blue bloods of golf. I mean, it was really between a couple of different schools, and the only Division I offer I had was Drake University, and then started to do some research there. A young coach, basically 4 other freshmen were committed, and Coach Brummel's like, "Hey, we'd love to have you." And I was like, "Man, this is amazing." I mean, you're talking Division I golf, number 1, but furthermore, it checked the box academically for my parents. Somehow I got in. Somehow I got out. But, it was one of those where I just improved every year in the game. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 steps forward and a step back. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of this, right? But once those other sports, especially in college, became, a non-priority, I started to see some progress. And, by the latter part of my college career, I again was also primarily the number 2 guy. So our number one guy was really good. He's one of my roommates and best friends and turned pro. I mean, I had competition in high school and on the team, and I had a lot of competition in college on the team. I think that was pretty healthy. What is healthy? So that was the golf side of it. Just never saw any complacency in trying to work and trying to get better. I was always right where my feet are, trying to get better every day, and that still holds true. So that I'm grateful for. As far as the faith side of my life back then, I grew up in the Catholic church, 1st grade through 12th grade school. That was my upbringing, and certainly grateful for at least having some sort of faith enrichment as a kid. I mean,
right.
I don't really care what denomination it is if it's genuine and if there's some sort of spirit-led lifestyle. I think it's very healthy. It removes the self, and you become selfless and desire and want to live for a higher cause.
Yeah.
I felt personally, and like I said, I got friends that are Catholic, family that are Catholic. I mean, it just wasn't me in the end, but that's part of my journey. I'm grateful for it, but I just felt like I was following the footsteps of friends and family, and it just didn't seem authentic to me personally. And so, I mean, after college, I just knew there was a void in my life. I did turn pro. We can get into that too, but I just felt like that void was something that I tried to fill with other things, and I was extremely naive as a kid, even into my 20s. I mean, as far as like just everything in life, pretty naive. I mean, I was one track minded, and that was to get better at golf. So, but that pursuit of the game and trying to perfect it certainly led me to periods of just, emptiness to some degree. I mean, where I couldn't find it and just rolling my sleeves up and digging in the dirt. And once I fully understood, and I don't know how deep you want to go right now, but once we go into it. Once I fully understood, there's really nothing I can do to fill that void personally with anything or anybody. That perspective and the lens shifted is probably the best way to put it. The optics of it all, because I knew the gospel, but I didn't know the gospel. So I heard it, I just didn't know it. That's probably the better way to put it.
So tell me a little bit more about that then. So like at what point, when did that shift, how did that shift happen? Was there a moment in time, or was there a person that really poured into you? What did that look like for you?
Well, I may have started dating a gal. That was part of it, and a heavy part of it. I knew she liked me. I clearly liked her. Loved being around each other. And she would ask me questions that would frustrate me. Just the basic ones like, do you really believe you're going to go to heaven? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was baptized. I was confirmed. I was, I did all of what I was supposed to do, right? And that guy over there, who is a great dude, he's going with me. I mean, that's basically where I was to some degree, because I believed in God, had felt it, had experienced it, certainly that side of things, but she got frustrated, and I understand that. I was frustrated too. So she just kind of let the reins out, and I could kind of see there was, a little bit of a separation there. I don't want to say she gave me an ultimatum, but she didn't really have to say it. And that really wasn't why I went down this road. My story from really that point on was one of prayers being answered, and prayers that I wasn't aware of. So you had other individuals around me that I knew, my mini tour buddies, and my wife Kim, or I guess girlfriend at the time, praying that, hey, praying for other men to intercede, to pour into him, to really show what's important and why. And those prayers became answered in a pretty quick fashion. I mean, my swing coach, number one, not too long after, started to, as I was doing my own digging and searching, he started to really pour into me. I mean, unsolicited. My agent, and like I said, some players on the mini tours started to, I got invited to a Bible study, and I was like, heck yeah. I went to religion class,
Yeah.
I know the Bible, but, it was a pretty amazing period there in the sense that I was searching for something that I couldn't find, call it, on earth. And then once I started opening up the Bible, once I really started to understand that, there's nothing that I can do to fill whatever I'm looking for. It's already been filled if you just accept it. What is it? Romans 1:8, I think it is. It's only by faith. Literally believing that there's a higher calling, there is a creator, there is somebody that is the author of your life, and he just needs you to say yes. And that I didn't know what the true meaning of grace was either. And I think that all intertwined in there. I don't deserve it, and understanding really what that cross symbolizes. So that was early 2000s. Technically that was February of 2002 if I'm going to get specific.
Love it.
And at that point, again, like I said, I was kind of looking through a different lens now, where I was still working my rear end off trying to get better in this game of golf. There was more substance behind that. There was more meaning behind that. Shocking, my game started to have a little bit more success. But the success made more sense too, right?
Yes,
the valleys actually make more sense. So it all made more sense. It did not. I shouldn't say that. The realization that golf should not be my number one and should not be my identity in life that started then. Now, I've had periods where I got to check myself, or I have individuals that help me check myself, because that can happen. And maybe not just in golf, but other things. Shoot, my marriage should not be my identity, right?
Yep.
But, or my kids, or whatever. Friday Night Lights down here, man, it consumes me, So, I gotta be checked on a regular basis. I'm a flawed individual that needs a savior. And that's what happened back then. And I'm so grateful that, the Holy Spirit grabbed me, because I now have a personal relationship, and so when you see these athletes, these people, they first give their acknowledgement. It kind of frustrated me at first, and now I'm like, well, heck yeah. I think Tebow said it best. He's like, I'm supposed to sit here and say thank you to those that impacted me. Well, I have a personal relationship with my dad and my mom and my whomever, my coaches, but I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Yeah. Why wouldn't I say that? Why wouldn't I go there first? And so that's where I try to go first. I don't always succeed, but that's where I go first.
That's so cool. So many good things in that. I remember distinctly, it was Webb in our last season that we talked about that freedom that came from the realization that our identity is not in your game or the golf. And this quote, I use it all the time. And he said, that he says that he hopes for good golf, but his hope's not in good golf, right? Mm-hmm. And I think what you said is so true. We all can identify. And that's what I love about getting to talk with you guys is, you guys are talking specifically about your pursuit of this professional game and golf, but we can all relate to it. Anybody can find their worth being put in 100%. The work that they're doing, the being at home as a mom or a dad or whatever it might be. We can get caught up in that, and so that's just a great reminder. And
no question, doesn't matter what industry, profession, what where you are. Vocation. It does not matter. The moment that becomes, or something else becomes, your priority in life, it's pretty fleeting, because it's going to be. There may be some temporary, freedom there, but it's not going to be release, unload, non-weight freedom. Yes,
that's right. So good. All right, well, now we'll dig into some more of that, and how that kind of affects you and the way you went through golf in your career in just a bit. So let's. I want to hear a little bit more about you and Kim and how you navigated pursuing a life as a professional golfer, and then eventually you guys obviously started dating and got married. But what were those conversations like for y'all? In how do we do this marriage well as you were pursuing this career, which is tough, and then when you guys did start having a family, like how has your wife and kids played a role in your success and ability to do this really well?
Sure. Well, yeah, like I said, we were dating obviously, and then you got to the point where, hey, let's we desired to be together. We desired to do this as one. Desired to pursue this life together, and whatever crazy. I mean, we had nothing. We really didn't have anything. Yeah. I mean, I had some minor successes. She was working, inner city Orlando, like just very difficult. She had a great job, but I mean, it was a real job. We'll put it that way. It wasn't like what I have. So we decided, we're going to give it a go, and obviously got married, and then eventually wanted to start a family, which was great. And that whole commitment and journey, I think, like I said, it's probably it's been the most humbling thing. But you know that, you kind of know it going into it, that there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. It's going to be hard. It's going to be great. It's going to be fulfilling, and it's going to be sometimes empty. So the bottom line is that we made a commitment that I'm not going to find my happiness, my contentment in you, and you're not going to find it in me, because we can't provide that. We can maybe give you a morsel of that occasionally, but that's not ultimately what's going to fulfill us, and not what's ultimately not going to sustain us. I'm not going to be your sustenance, and I'm not going to be your provision. In the grand scheme of things, yes, I'm going to do my best to provide. Yes, I'm going to do my best to support the family. That obviously goes without saying. But the moment that is everything, however that looks, is a recipe, I think, for disaster. So
for sure.
Now we're getting to the kids thing, and I don't know what other parents would say, but I know they're a gift, and they are, absolutely. They're not ours. It's kind of like money. It's not ours, but we've been gifted it, and it's our responsibility to raise them as best we can, and so that they can make their own decisions in a I would say, a healthy, wholesome manner. And so that's our desire each and every day. It's our prayer each and every day. Just make good decisions. Yeah. Got to get them involved in everything and anything that challenges them, makes them stretch, and makes them uncomfortable, but yet knowing they have a loving household and a house that is founded on the Bible. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. We love tackling life down here with other families that are like-minded. We've got a phenomenal church. We've got a great school, great ministries that help our kids. Young Life, as you and I were talking about earlier, is a big part of my eldest and his go at it. There's another one, it's called 707, that once you get to those like almost teenage years, every week they meet at 707 on whatever day, and you have a leader there. So they're getting leaders outside of the house, which is, I think, crucial. Absolutely. Starting to see some independence too, which is nice to see, especially on a 17-year-old. But amazing kids. It's chaotic. It's very difficult. There's not a perfect template, but we're trying to do the best we can, given all that we know. And the bottom line is, my wife and I say it all the time, whether we're talking about your kids' grades, or a decision they made, or what they did to their brother or sister. Yep. The bottom line is, we can't. It's going to happen because they're flawed just like us, right? They're made flawed, but we can show them what's important and keep praying about that. So that's our desire as a family and as a couple.
Yeah, I laugh a little bit because my wife and I have 3 of our own, and our daughter's 5, our son just about to turn 3, and then our other son's like 3.5 months old. So
oh wow, you're in the middle.
It just is funny. Well, it sounds like the way you were talking about your kids. I'm like, wait, it sounds like what we're talking about with our kids, and your kids are teenagers. So
it's just a whole funny level.
We're just different stages of the same thing.
100%. Yeah, different season, but
yes,
there's always going to be parallel. And I remember it as a kid too. Like my brother and I used to pound each other. I mean, and then he got too big and I couldn't do anything. But yeah, I mean, whatever it is, there's, like I said, you can't look it up and find a bullet point of how to tackle marriage and or raising kids. It's just not.
Yep.
Well, you can. It's called the Bible, but
it's called the Bible. Yep.
That sounds cheesy, but it's the truth.
It is
the truth. And I pursue other people too. I mean, like my mentor in life now, he's like our tour chaplain, or both of them for that matter. I mean, I would call either one of them for anything, and they know that because I've called them for anything. So we mess up all the time, and I think that's the other key. Like when it comes to parenting, like I think about my dad. I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm still trying to prove myself to my dad. Even though I'm almost 50. But that's just what you do as a kid and as a boy. You just want to show that you can do it. And I don't know how my boys feel, but I know they're gonna make mistakes. The mistakes I make, because they're all the time. I mean, I'm constantly going back to them asking for forgiveness. And I think that's a nice thing. I don't love to do it. At the same time, I know it's what I'm supposed to do. And you're gonna make mistakes.
Yep.
You have a place to go, and don't go to somebody. Go to the Lord, because he's heard it all.
Love it. All right, I have a lot more that I still want to talk about as more recent and kind of current state of affairs. But before we jump into all that, we're going to shift gears just a little bit and do a little segment that we do on the show called Quick 9. So we're getting in 9 holes end of the day real quick, and so we do 9 rapid-fire questions for you. And just shoot me a quick answer. I may ask a little follow-up, but for the most part, we're just jumping through these 9 questions. Great. So, Quick 9 with Zach Johnson. Hole number 1. What is your favorite movie?
First reaction right off the bat, Hoosiers.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's sports and it's dramatic and it's the. I mean, I think not to be cliche again. It's David versus Goliath kind of thing. I've always felt like my back's always been against the wall, so it's relatable. So I went with that. I didn't go with Rudy because I don't like Notre Dame, but that's a great movie too.
That's funny. I almost said because my wife, their whole side of the family is Purdue people, so as much as I'm like, that's a great movie, but it's hard with the Hoosiers, So love it.
That's
good
the
one.
first one I'm gonna go to. Yep.
Good. All right, hole number 2. What player did you look up to the most as kind of you were growing up?
Michael Jordan.
Why?
No
what
question.
about Michael Jordan was like inspirational to you?
Well, I mean, obviously the way he transcended the game. I mean, I had him on a pedestal. There's no question. The point guard for 3 of those championships was also an idol of mine. B.J. Armstrong, played at Iowa. That's where I'm from. I was born, like I said, you mentioned, I was born at the university for the most part. So, but I mean, as a kid in the 80s and 90s, it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, he still is. I mean, in a lot of respects. And I've gotten to be around him now a lot, and he's great. Man, he loves golf. Holy cow!
Yeah, no. I was gonna ask, have you played with him? You got to play with him?
I played a few holes with him. And he was our vice captain in San Francisco, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
President's Cup. Does that sound right? I think he was. I think that was the team. And so I got to play a few holes with him in practice round. But he's great. Any questions? He'll answer. He was, and his wife's great. Kid. I mean, they were all awesome. So
that's so cool.
He's, contrary to popular belief, he's normal. Very normal. Like just but not normal in the sense that he was able to do what he did with the basketball work.
Right.
Yeah.
Extraordinary person, but also a human being.
Puts pants on and goes to work.
I love it. All right, hole number 3. Your favorite professional golf memory.
Man, favorite professional golf memory.
I also have a question about Ryder Cup memory. So
Okay,
that
well,
helps.
that one may be in there. So I mean, that may be my fondest. Anytime there wasn't many. Anytime I was a part of a winning team would be way up there. Fondest memory. I mean, the first win's always pretty spectacular, so I'd probably throw that one up there too.
And that was that your rookie season? Did you have one your
That
first
was my
year?
rookie season. Yeah, in Atlanta. That's probably my fondest. I played in that tournament a couple of years prior. I Monday qualified, and I had a massive mishap on the 18th green to finish 4th, 5th as a Monday qualifier. And so then fast forward 2 years later, I can get really specific, but that one really, just kind of fortified a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catapulted me to a lot of things too.
Yeah. All right, hole number 4. If you could play kind of in a dream foursome, who would the other 3 players be? They could be living or have passed away, but just who are the other 3 guys or girls in your team or in your group?
Payne Stewart, number 1 right off the bat. Never got to meet him. Read many of books, specifically the one that his wife was a part of, Tracy. Loved, and especially hearing some of his peers talk about him. Shoot, some of his peers are some of my good buddies now. Character, jokester, could be kind of harsh and brutal at times, but then, changed his life, found the Lord, pursued his faith with his family, and many examples of that. And then the ultimate competitor. Usually, it seemed to me from the outside that the more difficult the circumstances, the better his game was. Ryder Cup lover of all, no question. So he'd be number 1. Number 2, Ben Hogan. Just you hear stories about Ben from individuals that have witnessed him. Little harsh as well, but fundamentally speaking, I think he was way ahead of his time on how to actually fundamentally, technically pursue the game.
Yep.
And the story is that you could be blindfolded and go up and down the range, and you could hear him hit balls and be different than everybody else. So I'd throw him in there. And then after that, it'd have to be like, I don't know, my dad would be in there probably, or something like that. Potentially my brother, something like my sister didn't play. So but those 2 stand out on 2 individuals I never got to meet. For sure.
That's cool. We had Mike, his caddy, Mike Hicks.
Hicksy's caddy. Gosh, love Mike. Yes.
The stories that he was sharing about, that was a gift.
Mm-hmm.
So, he seemed like he was one of those guys that I admired as a young person watching the game too. And
great rhythm.
Cool. All right.
Ooh.
Yes. All right. Hole number 5. What is one way that you keep your marriage a priority as a pro golfer?
Oh, wow. That's, I kind of try to approach it like a lot of things I've been gifted. If there's an issue, because there's always going to be an issue. I mean, when times are good, it's easy, right? I mean, it's really easy. The mundane is even easy. But when times are really good, it's really easy. It's just those times where you're frustrated or she's frustrated and you can feel it. Words don't even need to be said, right? So I was given the notion, and still trying to go back to it as much as possible. Try to approach it from a selfless posture, number 1. But I think the best way to do that is legitimately, again, this is very cliche, is to look in the mirror. Because more times than not, if I dig deep into me, I can, whatever that situation may be, it's not her. I mean, she's flawed. I know that. She knows that. But man, so am I. And so, I know our marriage is ordained. It is. So we're gonna get through it. But how do I do that? I go to the Lord and I look in the mirror and that's how I figure it out.
Yeah, that's so good. That's good advice right there. All right, hole number 6. Back to that memory question I told you about. What's your favorite Ryder Cup specific memory?
got a few, or a handful or more, actually. Yeah. I get the question, I hope this isn't one of your questions, but like what shot do you go back to? Or
it's not one of my questions. So
okay,
good.
So, but I go to my first Ryder Cup, and I go to the 16th hole in my first match of my life. It's me and Chad Campbell. We're playing foursomes against Padraig and Paul McGinley in Ireland, and 16's a par 5, 17's a par 4, 18's a par 5. And he has the even, so he teed off on 16. We're 2 down going into 16, and they laid up. They hit their tee shot to a point where they had to lay up, and I got that number where I'm like, man, if I hit it in the middle and I hit it straight, like it could be really good, you know. I got like 255 hole, I think it was like 238 cover, creek, winds off the left, cannot miss it left, creek right. It's a layup for Zach Johnson all the time, right? But Captain Lehman shows up. I'm talking to my caddy, and we're like, we don't know what to do. I mean, I'm like a deer in headlights for the most part.
Yeah.
And Tom is the best. He's a dear friend, and he's like, what's going on, man? Hey, Cap. Just trying to determine what to do here. It wasn't like my shot yet. You know, they were still trying to determine their layup. But you know, I'm like, just trying to figure out what to do. He's like, what's the match at? I'm like, well, we're 2 down. Can you get it there? I'm like, yeah, I can get it there. Why are you talking about it? And I'm like, yes, sir. You're right. Enough said. I hit it to like, I don't know. It gets closer by the years, but call it 15 to 20 feet. I don't know what it was, but we all we needed to do was 2 putt to win the hole. So now we're 1 down, and now I'm like, bowed up. I'm 7'5" and I'm bowed up, and hit a good tee shot the next hole. Chad hits a great shot underneath the hole to like 20 some feet. I make that. They get lucky and make like a snake from 16 feet. And so we're still 1 down going in 18. Same situation, but this one was a no-brainer. And Chad hit a great drive. I hit another 3-wood on the green. We 2-putt, have the match. And the instant confidence that gave me, specifically on 16, is something that's carried over for years. That was 06, I think. 06. And so that stands out to me as far as like the shot that catapulted my career, if that makes sense. What was the question? Oh my gosh.
That was it. Ryder Cup memory, which was part of the
There's many more than that. I mean, being a part of Stricker's team that won was huge. Yeah. Being a part of the team in 16 that I played on in Minneapolis was one of the most fondest memories. I mean, anytime you win, and I lost a few, so winning was, and the ones you lose, I mean, even though it stinks, it sucks. You can find some nice morsels of put positive things in there.
Yeah, which we'll get to that here in a bit too, because I'm very curious. So fascinated about all of the Ryder Cup, that stuff that goes into it. All right, but wrap up the quick 9. So hole 7.
Yep.
I ask every guest this, so if you've been listening and following the show, you know what's coming. Okay. If you're on a road trip, you're driving, and you got to stop at a gas station to fill up. You go inside. What's the snack that Zach Johnson's grabbing off the aisle?
Sunflower seeds.
What flavor?
Salt, just plain.
Just plain.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty basic in that regard.
You were quick though. You knew exactly.
Well, I'm trying to be quick. Times. I mean, I'm not much of a snacky.
Yeah.
Candy. I get a big thing of water, spit cup for my seeds, and that's the only thing that keeps me awake.
I love it. That's so good. All right, hole 8. What's something that brings you joy in life?
College sports.
Love it.
I don't do a whole lot on Saturdays. Like if I have to work, it's gonna be in the morning, in the fall.
Yeah.
So that one's up there, and then any competition that my kids are in. So my eldest is a football player. He's a massive boy. Friday Night Lights here are huge, and then my middle man's into karate, so he's a sport karate kid. So man, I get amped up. And then my daughter's competitive dance, like every other girl down here. So those get me amped up too. But I was raised in Iowa, like I said, in Iowa, and so Iowa sports are big. Whether it's Drake or the University of Iowa, that's my allegiance.
That's so cool. All right, hole number 9, finishing up the quick 9. What is one of your favorite verses in the scripture?
I'll go to. Well, I've got 2. Can I go 2?
Sure.
Because there's meaning behind it. I've got a ball marker that I only use in competition, and since I've known my wife, I've had 2. So I've lost 1, and I don't remember if it was we lost luggage or what, but I lost 1. I mean, it's the size of a dime. It's really small, and she made both of them. One side says "Trust your line," Proverbs 3:5-6, which is amazing, especially if you're putting, right? The other side says "One shot at a time," and it's Matthew 6:33-34. So 2 great reminders. Matthew 6:33-34. Seek first the kingdom of God, and in time it'll be given to you. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough worry of its own. And Psalm. I think a lot of people use Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust the Lord your God with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. You'll make your pathway straight. So that's awesome. Those 2 certainly stand out in my game. There's a lot, but those are the 2 that stand out.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Well, thanks for doing a little quick 9 with us. We'll jump back in. But reminder, if you're watching the show on YouTube or if you're listening on your podcast, it's a huge help for us if you would subscribe to the channel if you're loving what you're hearing and seeing. And if you're on podcast, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. All of that helps us continue to get the show out there and help other people get to hear the stories of all these amazing people that we have on the show. So let's jump back in. I do want to kind of finish kind of the last segment here with what's gone on the last year and a half and this most recent part of your season with the Ryder Cup captaincy, Full Swing documentary. Just what has that been like for you? What was that experience kind of overall like?
Well, I don't even know where to start and end on that. I mean, as far as the Ryder Cup goes, I mean, that's an experience and an honor of a lifetime. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. I mean, how would you summarize it? I mean, gifted that role, gifted the ability to lead a team is something that I took extremely serious, and something that when I look back on it, I there's going to be a ton more positives and fond memories than anything else. I mean, and for me, I look back on it and I think I have the proper perspective. I mean, first of all, there's only 2 outcomes.
Yep.
Right? And so I knew that going into it. It's not like I was oblivious to that. And obviously I counseled with individuals that were able to elaborate on that. A few great friends in particular. But when I look back on it, the fondest thing are the people. I mean, whether you're talking about, the PGA of America staff that I worked with, that my intimate team, if you will, or friends for a lifetime. And I knew them, for the most part, I knew them prior, but not you get to know them even more so in that year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. But then the team and the vice captains, I mean, that's something that I'll cherish forever. We were a team. I mean, those guys, I don't care what's written. You don't know what you don't know. And it's not their fault. I mean, they're going to try to figure out and dissect it all, but these guys played for each other. They were selfless, and they wanted to represent their peers and our country, I think, in the classiest and most and best way possible. So I applaud them. I mean, I feel bad for them because obviously I didn't hit a shot, but I feel bad for them. They didn't do anything wrong. We were combating a lot of things, and I don't like making excuses, because the moment you do that, you're like, well, if you would have done this, or if they wouldn't have had that, or whatever it may be, that's like saying, well, then the European team wouldn't have won. No, I mean, they played better, and it's just the truth. Luke did a great job. obviously, of whether it's a motivational tactic or whether he just put him. I don't know, but they did a great job, and they won, and they made putts, and they made chips. So that's typically what happens. So I go back to that. But my fondest memory is intimately sharing. I share everything with her, but tackling the Ryder Cup with my wife. And that sounds really strange. I've said that to a lot of people, like, what do you mean?
No,
like,
I totally get that.
My responsibility was pretty heavy, obviously. So was hers. I mean, she's essentially trying to make that 1 week, one of the best, most memorable weeks of these players' lives and their significant others' lives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, she went to Rome without me at least once, maybe twice. I didn't think about it. So she put a ton of work in too. So I think sharing, we share everything together, but sharing it with my wife and my kids is something that, even though we lost, I mean, I know that, seeing my kid cry on 16 is something I'll never forget. But,
I was about to reference that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my middle man, and seeing his emotion come out was really difficult because it made me go that way too, as a parent. But I mean, again, those guys are individuals that I respect the utmost and applaud for the way they did it. It was just, in sports, somebody wins and somebody loses, and unfortunately that rationale is not good enough for a lot. But it is, it is on a nightly basis when you're talking about the NBA or NFL or whatever. Some team wins and some teams loses. But when it's every 2 years, there's more weight, and I know that. That's part of. It's also the beauty of it, right? It's also the aura of it, the intrigue of it. It doesn't happen every year, and frankly, it happens every 4 years at home and every 4 years on the road. So I love it. I will always love it. It is. It's the best thing I've ever been associated with professionally.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to some of the stuff you talked about earlier on about your love for the team dynamic of sports. And so I wanted, because I think the Full Swing documentary on Netflix, I think, did portray a lot of amazing behind the scenes aspects. I think that came across a lot in your leadership of the team. You talked about how these guys were a team. Like you could tell that was ingrained into how you wanted to lead the team.
Yeah.
But could you, because to be honest, watching it from a third party fan, it's entertainment, right?
Very much so.
It, to me, felt like some things were portrayed certain ways. And I'm just curious how you felt like behind the scenes, behind the curtain, what was the sense of the team as you guys were going through the preparations and then at the actual event? And then for you as a leader, what are your reflections been on how you personally were kind of portrayed in the series?
I've never seen it. I'll be honest. I lived it. I don't feel like I need to see it. I don't even know if I watched the first season. That was the second season,
cool.
Right?
That's fascinating. I love that.
I think that was the second season.
Maybe this was the second season. Yeah, this was second.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't feel like I need to. And I say that not to diminish I strongly say this, not to diminish the beauty of it, the entertainment side of it, and certainly, just the pure information. If you don't really know the game at all, I think it's spectacular. I mean, getting in, it's kind of seeing the ins and outs of these players at home, on the road is a really cool thing for fans, and I think that they did a great job with that. The individuals I worked with Netflix, Fox, whatever you want to call it, those individuals were great. I mean, I still see them, so it's not, they're still part of the PGA Tour, and they did a great. I mean, they're just working. They're doing. Yeah. They got families too, so I can fully appreciate that. You only know what you know, right? And I remember when it was presented to myself and Kim that the PGA of America and Netflix wanted to pursue it that year, and obviously being the leader of the team, that I'm gonna carry that responsibility, burden some of that responsibility, if you will.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that. I mean, I'm whatever. I'm partnering with the PGA Tour, or PGA of America, and the PGA Tour. What am I saying? So there's responsibility there, and I can appreciate that. I had reservations. I mean, so much of what we do as a team in Team USA, there's a lot of times, a lot of intimate, and I would say very private discussion items that you just kind of got to keep, and they totally appreciated that. So
yeah.
Now there was a point where they were going to be a part of like Team USA and Team Europe, like inside the team room and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Luke and I had a few talks about it, and I actually talked to all 12 of my players, and it was essentially unanimous that hey, there's a barrier there. There needs to be some barriers. Some
absolutely.
Where
there's like a sacredness almost to that.
Correct.
Like not everyone deserves to be in that room.
Right.
I don't need to be. I shouldn't be in that room.
I mean, it's the same thing for any other team. I mean,
yeah.
You might get a behind the scenes look occasionally with a mic or something like that, but when it comes down to it, you're not coming into the captain's office. You're the team room and the where decisions are being made and pairings and things of that nature. Like that, there's so much intellectual property there, and there's so much strategy involved that it's just not. It's not fair to the players. I mean, I'm in a serving role. I mean, I'm servitude. I'm completely trying to put them in a position to play their best and do what they do because they're the best players in the world. Period. But it's not fair to them. I'm trying to create, and so is Luke. I mean, we're trying to create an atmosphere where they can just go do what they do in an extremely heavy-weighted, high-gravity, non-normal week as normal as possible. That's what we're trying to make it, right? So it just didn't make sense. And they still did a great job, from what I was told, of capturing some great footage, obviously, showcasing, I would argue, the best event in the game of golf. And so I applaud them for that. I mean, I've heard nothing but positives as far as what was aired. I saw some snippets. It's not like I'm oblivious to it. If I have any frustration, and this is not Netflix, this is not the people. It's just the way it is. Not every player on my team signed up for Netflix at the beginning of the year, right? Not every player for Team Europe signed up for Netflix. Because you do sign, you sign something where they can follow you in the locker room and maybe come to your house, that sort of thing. So I know it kind of portrays that we picked a certain individual instead of a certain individual.
Right.
It's just not true. It's completely false.
I want to hear more about that, because that was my next question. Was like, it did. That was my one thing that I felt like was kind of, now this is my own personal opinion, I felt like a little unfair that it kind of portrayed it in a sense of like certain people got a little bit more, they got the benefit of the doubt, or they got the being picked over, and then specifically like, and I want to talk more about Keegan Bradley too, in his role now, but tell me a little bit more about that, because what were those decisions? Those are huge decisions that I know you do not take lightly, and 100%. There was not that. Those were very well thought through and counseled and all that. So tell us a little bit, peel back the curtain on what ultimately went into those decisions and how difficult were those decisions really on a personal friendship level.
Sure. I mean, outside of the pairings, those are the most difficult decisions that you're going to be making. Now, every good team that I've ever been associated with, so you're talking cups, you're talking, and witnessed, and talked to coaches, because I did talk to coaches that had great teams, whether it's high school, college, professional, it doesn't matter. Every good team that goes out there and does it, in my mind, I would say the right way, there's distinct ownership by the players. And so, and I know these captains as of late have experienced that and will continue to experience that, as they should, because you do want the players to be in an arena that they feel like they can flourish, right? So you're taking that element, you're taking the element of stats, golf course, all of the objective based data, I guess you could kind of say, but even some subjective too, like the personalities of things. Of the guys, the personalities of potential tandems, and et cetera, et cetera. You're taking all of that, and you're trying to stir it all up and try to figure out what's the best for Team USA going forward. And that's going to happen as long as there's picks. That's going to happen in the foreseeable future. So, that process is very arduous. It's very difficult. Also, in a very odd way, kind of fun too. But you're just trying to figure out what you feel is best for that week. And I've said it 1,000 times. I want to take 30 guys over there. I mean, it's not just because you take one individual. It's not saying that they're not worthy, because that's not the case. I mean, where's the spectrum of deserving? I mean, that it doesn't work. It's trying to formulate the best 12 for that 1 week. And obviously we lost, so you can hash that up which way you want. I would take those 12 guys again any given day, any given week, anywhere. That's just me, because I believe in them as their leader and as their captain. They had a lot of say in who they wanted to play with and who they wanted to be on the team. But I personally take the responsibility for fielding those 12. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. But there was numerous conversations, numerous meetings and things of that nature to try to figure out the best way to go over there and win. And it's hard. It's really hard to win over there. But that's the beauty. That's why. I mean, not that if I had the choice, that's where I would want to go over there and be the captain. I can accept losing. I mean, I lose more than I win. So, but the media and those that feel like they know what's really going on, they can summarize it and have their opinions, and that's fine. I respect it, but I know what happened, and I know who they are and what they're about. So, I know the show is going to they're trying to create drama, and I think they probably did a pretty good job of that.
They did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. But you're talking about 3 individuals that we picked that were a part of Netflix, and 1 individual that we didn't pick that was a part of Netflix. So you're talking about 1/4 of the team signed up for it, and then 1 individual that didn't get picked. And Keegan, it's making it as if he's the I've talked to him about it, as if he's the victim in all of this. And I've had that phone call. I mean, it's awful. I've been on both sides of it. I love Keegan and Jillian and their family. I mean, they're awesome. You can't not like them once you get to know them. You can't not. And then if you talk about him as a player and a competitor from a competency level, I mean, duh, right? So I'm not sitting here and saying that he couldn't go over there and done great. Could have, obviously. Anybody could have. Of those 30 guys, 40 guys that we were kind of looking at. So you can second guess that and hash it out all you want, but you can't look back either. So
no,
right. I don't know. I mean, I will sit here and say, that those phone calls of calling individuals that made it were amazing. I mean, that's those are the ones that you certainly remember. Some really good specific examples as to why. And I'm going to remember the ones where I didn't want to call either.
Right.
But I can sit here and tell you that Keegan was one of them. But the other guys that I called had just as much merit as he did. And so I'm telling you, that's not showcased because they didn't sign up for Netflix, right?
That's a really interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I want to get across is those guys that I called that did not play for the 2023 RYDER Cup team. This is not an embellishment. I'm not exaggerating this at all. Were class and made my hesitancy and my frustration and my nervousness and my fear. They essentially all did it in a manner that I am so grateful. Now, again, I've had multiple phone calls on that side of it, and it's not fun. You want it to be short. Sure. You want to get it done with and be done with it. And so I get it. But I know what I signed up for, and that was part of it. And now Keegan knows what he's signing up for, and it'll be part of his. But he's going to do a great job. I mean, it's Keegan. Like, everybody just assumes that Keegan and I are like, well, they just don't. No. I played on teams with this man, and once you're on a Ryder Cup team, you're always a part of Team USA. I mean, I was told that from the very beginning, and it's true. I don't care who you are, whether it's 1 or 50, 1 or 10 Ryder Cup teams, you're always a part of Team USA. So, I'm going to watch every second of it, regardless where I'm sitting or standing. I love it. It's part of what I know and what's embedded in me and bred it. It's part of my fiber makeup now. So I'm always a fan, and I am grateful that I got to serve that team as Team USA's leader. That's the way I approached it. I tried to serve them as best I could.
Yeah, and that's just so fascinating to hear, because that's what I think is what's frustrating about how it's, whether it's social media or shows, that kind of stuff, is like we get painted this little picture, and I never would have even have thought of the fact that there's guys that obviously you're calling other guys and telling them no,
right?
But the idea that like there are people that didn't sign up to let Netflix in on their journey, and so
most of them.
Been
the high majority, the highest percent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now we've got this small little snapshot that makes it create this pedestal of like, this is how it was, whatever. So that's fascinating. And that was, I'm curious, like, how has that relationship, because again, you said it, like you start to get this picture painted a little bit of like Keegan and Zach, or, now there's this animosity, and you show up to tournaments and people are like, yeah, Keegan, and no, Zach, or whatever. What has that relationship been like for you and Keegan? And like, have you been able to give some advice, counsel into his preparation thus far? And what's that been like?
Yeah, well, I'll answer the second part first. At some point, if he wants it, I'd be happy to give any sort of be a sounding board. I've written some things down, so and I like to think that I could be a little bit helpful if desired. It's his team.
Right.
That's number one. It's his team. He can do whatever he wants. I personally say it not just to be the nice guy. I think he'll do a great job. He's very relevant on the PGA Tour. Very relevant in the sense that he just played in the President's Cup, number one, just won so many odd months ago in an elite field, in an elite tournament. And I should have probably also prefaced this by saying, you're talking about somebody that could probably make his own team? And that sounds funny, but I'm being dead serious because he's a really good player, obviously. So he's a major champion and has won a number of tournaments and played a number of cups. He could play in a lot more coming up, that's the truth of it. But he is the right guy right now, no question. So our relationship, certainly there was probably a period there. I didn't see him much last year. I was not in the elevated events, signature events, as far as my standing goes. So I didn't get to see him much. It felt like you were almost on two different tours. In some respects. So I didn't get to really, rub shoulders with him much, but we communicate a little bit here and there. I don't, but fortunately, was it the spring, early summer? I got to be a part of the ask, and so since that point we've obviously communicated. So I'm grateful for that. He's, again, I can't. Sounds like I'm just trying to be nice, but I can't. No, being honest. He's great. Keegan's great, and the fans love him, and they should, because he's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. As a fan, I see the same thing, and I am. Yeah. I think that you guys, whoever was a part of that decision making process, got it 100% right.
Yeah, I'm on the committee, so that was part of it, and they gifted me with the ability and the honor to make the ask. So
that's cool. What a cool redemption. That's like a cool redemptive thing too. The way like it was portrayed with the full swing stuff, but then to then circle back and be able to have the honor and be a part of the decision making, and then have the honor to say like, "Hey, we believe in you to take this team to a victory in the next one."
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I don't know what was necessarily before me. I know I was asked, but yeah, great honor. Caught him a little off guard. I mean, why wouldn't it? But then, I think once it started to settle, and we actually communicated quite a bit after that, even whether it was text or phone. I mean, it just makes sense. There's a long litany of reasons as to why. So, Keegs is awesome, and the guys, they're hungry to play for him. We talked about at the very beginning of the show. When you've got a team that's competitive within the team, it just makes the team better. So I know a lot of these guys that have a really good chance are going to step it up, and it's going to make Team USA even better. So Keegan will do an amazing job. He's already surrounding himself around some of my best buddies to help him lead, and they'll do an amazing job because they've been there. They've seen that arena too. So I'm excited. I'm excited for him. Excited for New York.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude.
Droves. Yeah. It'll be a lot, but it's gonna be
insane.
Great. Yeah, it's gonna be insane. And Luke will do great too because it's Luke. Luke's amazing. We essentially came out together through the ranks, and he's I should have said that too. Sharing my experience with Luke and Diane Donald, again, it's pretty amazing. He's a great individual.
I love it. That's been such a gift for me doing this. Is I think that's unique about the game of golf, maybe in particular. I mean, every sport has amazing people. I just feel like more often than not, the people and the players, everybody's just so legit and genuine and real. And I don't know, it's just been cool to get that affirmation of what I feel watching and stuff.
Well, you're interviewing a lot of great individuals. Myself being the exception. In the sense that they have that perspective, I think. But no, I mean, I say it to who do you like to play golf with? Who are your favorite players? Who are your favorite? For everyone dumbass like myself that we have, there's 100 great guys. I mean, there really are. I mean, there's just they're great, and we're a nomadic traveling circus. And we chase a ball and hit it. It's pretty nice.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Well, I'm one that would pay to watch it. So
well, we appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll kind of wrap things up. I could sit here and talk to you, all day, and appreciate you giving us the time to do this.
Pleasure.
But I would love to hear a little bit more of some of the things, other things off the links that you're involved with. I know you mentioned the Zach Johnson Foundation. I want to hear about that. But even before we jump into what that's all about and what you guys do with that foundation, when you're not playing golf, you're not watching golf, what are some things that you just love to do?
Well, if I'm not, I used to love pickleball. Man, I still do love pickleball a lot.
It's a great sport.
It is a great sport, but it does not love my body. I can't. I usually play with guys that are, better than me, so it requires a lot out of me. And I love that. I love it. It's just, it's taking a toll. We love, we're in the mountains in the summer, so we like to go out, just get outside in the mountains and hike. That's my, I'm a mountain guy that lives by the beach. The water intimidates me, but the mountains are set me free kind of thing. And it doesn't matter where. Cool. I mean, we're a skiing family too, so probably shouldn't do that. But it's all I know as a kid too is snow skiing. So my kids look forward to that with another family every winter. That's probably our favorite week of the year.
Where do you guys go for that?
We go to Colorado. Yeah,
cool.
Eagle County. So we have been at the same place for this will be our 11th or 12th straight year, I think.
So cool.
Kind of dating, but that's a nice escape. Like I said, I pursue college sports a lot. I'm one of those creepy recruiting guys that loves to know where the next one's coming from and what high school they went to and all that garbage. But I love it. I can't help it. It's cool. It's an escape for me too. It's being removed from the state of Iowa. It's one of my ways to keep attached. Drake basketball, Iowa football and basketball as well, and certainly Iowa women's basketball.
About to say, yep.
So I love it. That's a nice escape for me. I live in South Georgia. I mean, I've got friends. I'm on the coast down here, so I got friends that have boats, and so we do that. We hang out with friends a lot. I mean, we've got a nice social network down here. I think that very fortunate to have. So I mean, whatever my kids are doing is really what I go to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. Whether it's football, karate, basketball, or cheer.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's so cool. All right, so tell me a little bit more about the Zach Johnson Foundation. What
sure.
was that set up for? What do you and Kim? What was such a big heart behind it, and what does it go kind of to help?
Yep. Great question. I appreciate it. So yeah, it was established. Well, once I had some successes, we did have a charity, a beneficiary every year that kind of changed in my hometown, Cedar Rapids, and that did some good. But then I started to really mature in my career and have some more successes. And so we felt we could make a bigger impact. So we established the foundation in 2010. And we basically, we partnered with a number of other entities and people in the city and created a program. It's called Kids on Course. It has nothing to do with golf, really at all. I mean, I guess technically we can provide that, but it's a very much a collaboration, like I said, of a number of individuals. We've got our own program executive director of the program, and then obviously an architecture that goes down from there, where we're intimately inside the schools, elementary, middle, and high school, and we follow them from the first bell to the last bell, and after school activities. We now have full trust and faith in the academia side of things, so we are partnering with the teachers and the principals. We have after school activities, whether it's arts, sports, or whatever they desire, we can provide. And then we have a summer program too that kind of bridges that gap between the spring and fall, specifically for the elementary age kids. And we really focus on reading and math, but reading. And we know we're data driven. I should have said that. Very much objective based driven. We're not just thinking, oh, maybe we should try this.
Yeah.
It's completely. It's based on stats and data, and the results as a result are now pretty amazing as far as seeing these kids flourish. We've had 3 graduating classes out of high school, and we have what's called Kids on Course. Kids on Course University. Sorry, that's the summer program. We have we have a scholarship program post high school, and so 2-year, 4-year craft, whatever they want to do, we'll stick with you. And so that's been one of the most, like I said, outside of my marriage and kids, probably up there with the most humbling thing and rewarding thing I've ever been associated with. But it's part of our giving strategy, one arm of it, in the sense that it's the community that gave me everything. I was born and bred there, and my dreams were hatched there and fostered there and cultivated there. So why not go back to the community that gave me everything? And I didn't deserve it. So knowing that there's being a parent, knowing there's kids that the opportunities that I took for granted they may not get is an eye opener. But then also seeing these kids, the best is seeing them flourish. I mean, we have more than one, but even if it was one, it'd be worth it. We have kids that were a part of it since 1st, 2nd grade that want to come back and now help us, and that speaks volumes too. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. How can people support what you guys are doing? Is there a website to go to, or what ways
there
can
is,
people help
we've
out?
got socials too. You can go to Instagram and I want to say Twitter, X, even though I'm not on it. Sorry. I might post, but it's not really me. I've got enough social media. A lot of positives. This is one of them. But we have our own. We have our own website too, the Zach Johnson Foundation. You can check it out. It's easy to find. But yeah, I got an amazing board, amazing leadership back there. A chairman who I grew up with. He's my age. His dad was our chairman before him, so he's chairman emeritus. And and then obviously the individuals that do all the grunt work, that are that are really in the schools, intimate with these kids. They're the ones that deserves all the credit. The kids deserve all the credit, but they're a product of great people around them, much like I was. So
that's cool.
It's awesome.
Sweet. Well, we'll make sure we'll have those links in the show notes. So if you're watching,
thank you.
Check those out. Absolutely, support what they're doing. All right, so we'll kind of wrap things up with this. I ask every guest on our show, like I mentioned, I think maybe before we kind of started the show, but I had a 11-year career doing ministry with a ministry called Young Life that's for high school students. And I know you said your oldest son's kind of involved now, but I just have a passion for that age group, and I love hearing from our guests what some advice would be to current high school-aged students that maybe are aspiring to do golf and be a professional golfer. What advice would you give?
Well, I mean, that could be a podcast in itself. If I were to summarize it, though, I kind of started, I've got a long list of Zach's P's, and what they stand for. But I think the proper perspective, and I'm just going to highlight that one, is the moment that golf is your full identity is the moment that this game of golf is going to chew you up and spit you out. So I would find something that is grounded and is true at all times, at any given moment, at any given time, and that's the gospel, and that's the relationship you can have with Jesus. So I would say, don't let your identity get wrapped around this amazing, beautiful, difficult game of golf.
Yep.
It's just not. It's not going to be fulfilling. It's gonna. You're gonna have that empty void that I had when I was a youngster.
I love it, and that transcends the game of golf, which I love. Like you can for any high schooler that's out there, or any person that's out there.
Correct.
Don't let our identity get wrapped up in what we do, but be reminded of who we are in Christ. And man,
I like to say, don't get wrapped in what you do. Get wrapped in what's already been done for you.
Amen to that. I'm gonna keep that one in my back pocket. That's good.
Yeah. I would like to say I coined it, but probably didn't.
Yeah. Gosh, Zach, I appreciate you. Appreciate your willingness to jump on and peel back the curtain. Absolutely. Appreciate the transparency and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
It's been fun.
Said it all along. What you see is what you get. So I appreciate the insight. You did a lot of good studying too. Those are good. Those are good. heavy questions that prompted a lot of thought, and hopefully somebody can enjoy it.
Yeah, well, hope so.
Yeah.
Well, if you're out there watching or listening, appreciate you being here to even enjoy this conversation. We're doing this for you guys, and so it's been a joy. Appreciate you guys watching. And again, if you have enjoyed this, please hit the subscribe button. Like us and follow us on the podcast. Give some comments. Help spread the word. We'd love to be able to expose these conversations to anyone and everyone out there that enjoy getting to hear about the stories that have really helped shape these golfers and these professionals into the people they are today, the human side of the game of golf. And so this has been another amazing episode. We've had a great time with Zach Johnson, and we will see you on our next episode. Thanks so much.